All right. One of the things we've done since moving to back to Pennsylvania, we have been going pretty hard at making video games. That's kind of our new craft. So if you want to help, this is a quick way that I have learned to make a 16 by 16-bit pixel art character. So we're gonna see. I'll show you how I do it, and if you want to add efforts to what we are creating in our little video games, please feel free. The program I like to use is GIMP, so you can just go to GIMP and then download it and just follow the prompts. So then after you have GIMP, this is like the free version of Photoshop editor. We're going to try to make a different character with this as the base. So the first thing you're going to do, this won't be here. So you'll need to do File, New, and then you'll get this pop-up box. We're doing 16 by 16. That's the pixel size, 16 by 16. And then you're going to want to make sure that the fill with the background color is transparent. So you'll do that. Now, there's a couple of different ways. I think there's a magnifying glass to zoom in. I just hold Control and then middle scroll in. The next thing I like to do to set up my space is to go to View, Show Grid. So this grid is too big. We need to configure the grid, and I'll put the steps in the description of this video so that a way you can reference them easy. So you would go to Image, Configure Grid, and right now it's at 10 pixels by 10 pixel. We want it to be set to 1 by 1. So once we have that, we have a nice little grid. Now, you can kind of see the highlighting around about a 3-box area. That's because the size of our brush is set to size 4. We want to bring that down to 1. You can scroll it down or use that. I also like to have the hardness up all the way, so that way you have like a solid block. The other thing I like to set up also is to make sure that my eraser is set to size 1, and also the pixel is set that way. So for example, you'll know when it's working right if you highlight a pixel, highlight something in the grid, left click it, and it's completely solid, and then your eraser, you also can click that and it goes away. There's a little bit of fiddling around with the colors. You'll figure it out. You can start from scratch and feel free to use this basic design. The kind of character size here is 50% head to 50% body. That's kind of our little ratio. So I'm just going to cheat a little bit to save on time, but you can count the pixels if you really need to. Keep the body the same and just erase the head to help have a little different of a character. I'm thinking about making a hammerhead shark, so I kind of doodled it a little bit, but I'm gonna just start with black so I can kind of get an outline of what I want for the head, and you can always change the colors later. We'll see how well this turns out, if I want to use it for real or not. And then if you click a pixel, hold down Shift, you get this little line thing. It makes a straight line. That's kind of a fun little whatnot. So a couple of things that I learned is dithering. So that's a checkered pattern, and that can help you with highlights and lowlights. This is really small, so you can only put so much detail into it. So consider that. I think I'm gonna make his belt just one color, and then we're gonna go and find a shark color, I guess. That seems good. Sometimes I add it to the palette, sometimes I don't. Fill it in. Black we're kind of like staying away from completely black and completely white. I'll keep it for the eyes because it's easier to see, but for some of the outlines, what I just like to do is change it to have the slightly darker and fill that in. I think I'm going to go even darker. Okay. Yep. And then we will just change, well, we'll keep the shadow pattern relatively the same, I suppose. And maybe instead of, yeah, so we'll go like that, or you can use your pencil, or you can use like, so this is a dropper tool, and I don't quite understand how that saves that information, why there's two, and I'm sure there's a shortcut on how to change it. But I'm just gonna fill these in as I see fit. I do want to make him have some kind of a little mouth, so I suppose we'll do something like that. Maybe we'll make it a slightly different. We'll make it not as dark. Just kind of dorking around with the colors. Maybe a little bit darker, but not too much. Boom. Control Z to undo it. Okay. So this is kind of what we're looking at right now. I think I do want to change his other things. So I'll use the eraser, maybe add a little bit more of an interesting edge. And maybe we'll just also change work with some of the grays again. So you also have to think about, you got some low lights, you got some highlight, so you don't really realize how much these silly colors kind of matter, but it does make a difference. Feel it out. And yeah, so now we have a little worker dude who's a little different. Maybe I'll make his tunic a different color. Maybe I'll make these have different theory and different stuff behind them as well. Maybe I'll make them kind of a green color. And I'll use the bucket to fill in these other bits. And I will make a lighter color for highlighting. I think I'll go even lighter than that. I'll go greener. And yeah, that is our little hammerhead shark character. And you can see pretty much he'll fit pretty well in the same universe. Now I'm gonna just export it so we can file, save this guy as hammerhead shark. And I just have a file. I can save it, and then file will export. This part is pretty important. I just have an export folder, and when you export it, this helps to keep the transparency, compression level 9, that's the best. So we'll export it, and